Hello, welcome back to the channel 12-Step Guide with Troy O. Today we're going to begin our new list in the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book, Step 4. We just completed our fear list. Before that, we did our resentment list. If you haven't reviewed those videos, I suggest you do that before reviewing this so as to have a good flow on your step 4 and to understand the material. So I had said in the last, you're in for a real treat today. And what do I mean by that? If you want long-term, content, stable sobriety, whether it be alcohol and drugs or mental health, emotional, take this next part very seriously. So we'll get started now. We're on how it works in the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book. It's going to be page 81. I have the original version. It might be page 67 or 68 in some of the newer books. And so I'm going to start halfway down. Now about sex. Many of us needed an overhauling, a renovation there. But above all, we tried to be sensible on this question. It's so easy to get way off track. Here we find human opinions running to extremes, absurd extremes, perhaps. One set of voices cry that sex is a lust of our lower nature, a base necessity of procreation. It's only there to have children, is what that's saying. Then we have the voices who cry for sex and more sex, who bewail they're against the institution of marriage, who think that most of the troubles of the race are traceable to sex causes. They think we do not have enough of it, or that it isn't the right kind. They see its significance, its value, everywhere. One school would allow man no flavor for his fare, and the other would have us all on a straight pepper diet. He's saying one would be bland, the other would have an over-sex life. So this is important information coming up as a sponsor or someone you might be helping in the program. We want to stay out of this controversy. We do not want to be the arbiter of anyone's sex conduct. We don't want to be the referee. Arbiter is used saying arbitration, someone appointed to work out both sides. We don't want to be that. We all have sex problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't. What can we do about them? So before I continue reading, I just want to clarify a few things that I think might be helpful. One, you'll recall, those who have been doing it, they're following along here, that in column 3 of our resentment list, we covered sex conduct a little bit. Matter of fact, I even broke it down to acceptable or hidden sex relations. You'll find in the steps, but really it shows up in step 4, that Bill had a multi-layered approach. And what do I mean by that? Well, in life, we drank, drugged, worked, had sex, lived, and sometimes we did these things together. And they can't be separated in little neat pieces. So there's going to be, like the master key we read earlier, there's going to be pieces that cover different aspects of our lives, and they're going to unite with others. I encourage the listener to identify those areas that apply to you best. It might be different for an alcoholic than it is a codependent, that is an overeater, gambler, whatever the case. And so that you can best see that. And in all the 12 steps, don't look for just picture perfect, clean concepts. As a matter of fact, you've often heard me referred back to the step one. People on step one don't have any other context to go by. Here we are up at step four, continuing to refer back to our step one. We're building on it, the value of that. Now, there's another thing couple of things I'd like to cover. Um, in our step four, we're going to visit all kinds of unique issues. However, if you're at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, for example, we're not going to talk about religion. If you want to do that, head to the church. We're not going to get into politics as a place for that, because these things, they don't help. If you need to take that stuff up, certainly your sponsor can help you. And we're also not going to get into deep sex issues. If you find you have a need to do that, there are places for that. Certainly a counselor. Uh, Another meeting, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, SLAA. That's an area. Another might be sexual survivors type meetings, and I'm sure there's others. I've only just given an idea here. I don't want anyone to get confused and think that Alcoholics Anonymous is a place to get into these heavier issues. Now, when it comes to step four, say with a sponsor, spiritual advisor, counselor, clergy, whoever the case might be, well, yes, these things there's a time and a place to better understand oneself. And we're going through a process. And when you're making this list, keep it safe. You don't need to make a list like this and have somebody find it and have something go wrong. You can talk in code or whatever you need to do, but I encourage you, take this serious. And a final concept, you start getting into this stuff now about sex, and you find a real need for forgiveness before you even know how to proceed, head on down to the church, pop into one of those booths, tell them all about it, and get their forgiveness. And maybe they can help you understand a few things for now. Beyond that, there's a process to this, and just hold back and go a piece at a time. Now, if someone is being hurt, that's different. Let's deal with that appropriately. All right. Well, thank you for that. And let's get into another concept. So, this is getting into the sex instinct. And what do I mean by that? It's built into us. It is a very powerful part of us. And so let's look at the strength of that. I'll use a couple of examples. For example, somebody's drunk out of their mind, a male will say, and he's can't even stand up. He's off on the side somewhere, and pretty women are walking by. He's wasted out of his head, but what's coming out of his mouth? Things like, hey, baby, come over here, or whatever. What I'm trying to say is the sex instinct is exceptionally powerful. I believe it survives even the addiction, the strength of the addiction. When you're high as a kite, it still has tremendous power to influence you. And in addition, it can lower the barriers that might protect you from making bad decisions about having sex. Maybe you wake up next to somebody and there's a surprise on both your faces, for example. So a lot of people can end up having sex that otherwise maybe wouldn't have when they're consuming alcohol or drugs. And I also believe the sex instinct gone astray has the power to influence us in our head, gets us to our brain to release chemicals. We get high as a kite, all screwed up. The bodies, examples, you pursuing that girl, or maybe you're going to ask somebody out and you feel strange, but that can really be built upon. Anyway, but we're just going to start. I just wanted to get that stuff out of the way. So now we're going to get into some basic instructions about what Bill says about how to do this particular format. So let's expect a 5-column format on this, and we'll cover it one at a time. So for today, we're just going to look at the first column. So it's going to be consistent with our other lists. We reviewed our own sex conduct over the past years. And that's the only part that I'm going to read today. That's column 1. And so what do I think he means by that? List everyone that you ever had sex with. And it might be also at this point a good idea, if you're having sex, up in your head and all that. If there's some categories that really interest you, you might throw that down as a category. We'll get into that later and reasons why. As you know, in 98, I wrote some books to clarify the steps. I'm going to actually do it a slight bit differently this time than I am in 98. And I'll show you the examples at a later time, what I did then compared to how I'm doing it now. I believe this is a better way to be more inclusive. So, and it's an honest review. So you pencil in whoever you had sex with. Your list could be very short, and it might be fairly long. If you don't know the person's name, by all means, use a basic description so you know when you come back to it. And I think this format here is better top to bottom at this point. Give it some time, to think about it. It could be other, in rare occasions, categories of any living thing. And then we will, don't hesitate to take a couple of weeks, if you've been around a while, and depending on your experience. And then we'll come on back. Again, this is an area that society traditionally isn't that comfortable talking about. There's certain areas that get a little funky. I've been at this a long time. I'm not going to struggle with most of that, but this is an adult format. We're going to treat it that way. The examples that I use will be consistent with that adult format. And we're only looking to get this down on just simple words, simple descriptions, simple understanding, so that when you come back to column 2, you know what you're talking about. That's all. But keep it safe. And keep yourself safe. Again, it's because it's an area that's built into us, that sex instinct. Another instinct might be music, for example. Most like music, but this one here, we have it right from birth. Now, again, Bill said there's a whole range of people out there. There's all kinds of belief systems out there regarding this area. So as a sponsor, we're going to avoid getting into that debate. Well, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Ring the bell to be notified when new content is added. Also, you can support the channel 12-Step Guide with Troyo by donating through PayPal to hsworldservice@yahoo.com. In Step 4, we are laying the groundwork and planting seeds for the 9th step promises. Those promises are: we are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Keep moving forward. It's worth the effort.